you that since we're in the craft, you should check with us. So it's kind of like, how in the world can I decide when to check and when not to? Invariably I'll do the wrong thing. So it's lack of understanding or clarity on your part, and on our part also for not making it clear to you. As we get further along, we get tougher with you, and we do it for a reason, because we want you to be tough, and we want you to be able to take whatever we dish out. Not that we want to be cruel to you anyway, but we don't want to have to tread on thin ice with you. Members of the next level are not sensitive. Their feelings are not sensitive. In other words, they may
not in a human way.
Not in a human way, right. They're very sensitive as far as feelings, knowing that you're keenness, right. And it never dawns on them that you will take them in the wrong way. Their main concern is to do everything to please the chief. And they follow procedure. They expect you to follow procedure. If you don't follow procedure, it's almost like a cardinal sin, so to speak. And it's like a slap in the face to them. It's like you don't like their procedure or their way of life, and if you don't like it, then why are you here? So, in other words, you need to always strive for perfecting the procedures and following them to the letter. Now, we told you we would talk to you about, maybe we didn't, but we wanted to talk to you about that calling links when there wasn't the right time, which we will say you interfered with, translating this into the next level, into the Lord's work, okay? Not that we're saying we're the Lord, because we're not, we're your teachers, and we're using this as a lesson, okay? Now, there are two interpretations of this. We could find the scripture where the Lord told Moses not to. At certain times he was to come to the tent and meet with him, but he wasn't to come any other time. Now, the reason for that, even though it's not in the scriptures, but I happen to feel like I know, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm not, but I feel like it's because the Lord was exposed at that time, and he knew that if anybody saw him, they could die. Plus the fact, another thing, if he was in communication with his members, or his lords, so to speak, his older members, then they would interfere and he would stop what they were doing. And they were not to know how all of this was happening. You understand that? Make sense? Okay, so he gave them strict instructions. He gave them strict instructions for everything, and especially when they could contact the Lord, contact him. And so they broke procedure when the people of the camp began to get thirsty, and they wanted some water. And they felt like it was really important that they had water right then. Instead of Moses saying, now listen, it isn't time for us to go to the Lord. We have to wait until that time, and as soon as that time comes, we will present this problem to the Lord. But instead they kept nagging him so that he went to the Lord, he and Aaron went to the Lord, and of course disturbed the Lord. Now, when they did that, they showed to the Lord that they did not respect his procedures. They did not treat him as holy. And he was trying to impress upon them that he is their Lord, and you have to treat the Lord as holy.
Well, Well, plus they can't interfere with his time of contact with his help. In other words, his relationship with the next level is more important to him than anything else. And to have them disturb that is not only to disturb him, but to disturb those who are giving something to him.
There were many aspects to this, many aspects to it. Now, what I want to do is read to you these scriptures so that you will see what we're talking about. I don't know if it will be as clear to you as it is to us, because we fill in a lot of gaps, you know, and I don't know if you can remember enough to do it. Like I said, there are two interpretations.
Looking that up, I don't want you to think, when she said whatever we dish out, I don't want you to let your boogers think that we would dish out anything. That's not. In other words, it's like we hope that you can grow where we can be direct, and that we can treat you as we would members of the next level, instead of worrying about how your feelings will be affected.
Well, what I was saying, dish out meant when you break a procedure, we want to tell you about it, and we don't want to have to eat all around about it, you know. And we want to say, just like this morning when Chakotay said what she did, in defense of you two, even though she didn't feel like it. It was a defense. It was a defense, and you don't have to defend anybody. We're not going to punish anybody. The fact of it is you two broke a procedure. It's as simple as that. And Chakotay said the money was downstairs. I said it was in your pocket, and she corrected me and said it isn't in their pocket, which she should not have done. Okay? Now, the thing of it is that was a broken procedure. And so I quickly came back and said, don't be technical. It isn't in PPS fund, right? So therefore, it is.
To us, it's in their pocket.
It's in their pocket. It's in their possession, which is a slang expression of it being in their pocket. Now, so the thing of it is, it was a test for you to know that you can defend, which you don't defend.
And correct the next level.
And correct an older member. You see what I'm saying? You stop and think what I meant. In your pocket means in their possession, not necessarily in their pocket. In other words, try to translate this stuff. And now, if we were taking something wrong, then it would be okay to help clarify something. But we were not taking it wrong. It meant only one thing. The funds were not in PPS, right? The procedure was broken. You did not turn it in the moment you came in last night, which you should have done. And that's all that matters. So we weren't wrong. You follow that? So there's no reason to defend anybody. The fact is that the procedure was broken. And that's all that matters. And it should be corrected. That's the simple thing. For those of you back at the craft, you might not know at all what we're talking about. Okay, this is, as the community had no water, they held a council against Moses and Aaron. The people contended with Moses, exclaiming, would that we too had perished with our kinsmen in the Lord's presence. Why have you brought the Lord's community into this desert, where we and our livestock are dying? Why did you lead us out of Egypt only to bring us to this wretched place, which has neither grain nor figs nor vines nor pomegranates? Bunch of gripes. Here there is not even water to drink. But Moses and Aaron went away from the assembly to the entrance of the meeting tent, where they fell prostrate. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to them, and the Lord said to Moses, take the staff and assemble the community, you and your brother Aaron, and in their presence, order the rock to yield its waters. From the rock you shall bring forth water for the community and their livestock to drink. So Moses took the staff from its place before the Lord as he was ordered. He and Aaron assembled the community in front of the rock, where he said to them, listen to me, you rebels. for we to bring water for you out of this rock. Then raising his hand, Moses struck the rock twice with his staff, and water gushed out in abundance for the community and their livestock to drink. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, because you were not faithful to me in showing forth my sanctity before the Israelites, you shall not lead this community into the land I will give them. And that's that.
Read that again.
Because you were not faithful to me in showing forth my sanctity before the Israelites, you shall not lead this community into the land I will give them. Now this, can you understand that? Let me just say it. I won't read all of that leading up to that. I'll just read that, what the Lord said to him. Sent that to Sergeant. Then Moses and Aaron came in from the presence of the assembly to the doorway of the tents of meeting and fell on their faces. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to them. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take the rod in you and your brother Aaron, assemble the congregation, and speak to the rock before their eyes, that it may yield its water. You shall thus bring forth water for them out of the rock, and let the congregation and their beasts drink. So Moses took the rod from before the Lord, just as he had commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly before the rock, and he said to them, listen now, you rebels, shall we bring forth water for you out of this rock? Then Moses lifted up his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod, and water came forth abundantly, and the congregation and their beasts drank. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, because you have not believed me to treat me as holy in the sight of the sons of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given them. Then he goes on in another chapter. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron at Mount Horeb by the border of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered to his people, for he shall not enter the land which I have given to the sons of Israel, because you rebelled against my command at the waters of Meribah, which is that incident. Take Aaron and his son Eleazar, or whatever his name is, and bring them up to Mount Horeb, and strip Aaron of his garments and put them on his son Eleazar. So Aaron will be gathered to his people and will die there. And it's only because of that, breaking that instruction, that he did that to him. Now, you might think that's pretty tough, after all, Aaron sure did do a lot. But you've got to remember that the Lord had to teach discipline. And the first thing they had to learn was to treat the Lord in the way that he should be treated. Now, if you all go back, you all become familiar with us. Familiar meaning that you all become laxed, and sometimes you forget that we're older members. Now, if you can do it to us, you can do it to other older members. And it's very important that we teach you not to treat older members that way. We overlook a lot of things simply because we are here as your teachers. But a time may come when we will have instructions that we cannot do that. And we have to treat you as you would be treated in the next level if something like this would happen. Now, let's say that, I'll try to be, let's see, I think this is right, okay? I don't think you'll have more than one chance if you're working with an older member and you let them down any more than Moses and Aaron had more than one chance. Moses...
Not at that task, not at that time.
Right,
in other words,
you would.
Later they'll have another time, but...
In other words, if they feel like you don't know, then you will be replaced on that task with somebody who does know. Then you will be put in a position so that you can learn what you don't know.
Right, and how are they going to teach you if you keep repeating the same thing? In other words, you're not learning if it's repeated. If you don't have a chance to repeat it, then the impression will be made to a degree that it would help you far better than if you were permitted to repeat it, if you can understand that.
Later on in the scriptures, when it comes time for Moses to die, the Lord tells him, in other words, he tells him he's sorry, but he has to keep his word. But he did show him from the mountaintop where the land would be that Moses, where the children of Israel would be residing,
where he would give them that land.
He would give to them. And he did feel badly that he could not go back on his word, but he could not. Now this should impress upon you how the next level is. When we say tough, we mean they're tough. I mean, you've got to be on your toes, and you want to be on your toes. And you can't say, oh, I just wasn't thinking, or I don't know where my mind was at the time, or what are the excuses that we get all the time.
He would have to compromise his task in order not to be tough.
There are no teachers in the next level. We're your teachers now, trying to refresh your memory and to impress upon you your procedures. But once you get to the next level, you don't learn directly from teachers. You learn from what you have learned. I mean, you do from what you have learned now. And then you can, the level that you will be placed on until you begin to know more about what you're to do, then you will be helped. But you're not going to be able to make excuses for yourself. Now, can you see the difference? In other words, an older member will help you in a lot of things, in every way possible, but they're not going to teach you. And they're not going to say, you broke the procedure.
You'll be your own teacher. You'll be observing, and you'll be with older members, but it'll be just like once you graduate from college in the human world and you're out in the profession, you don't have a teacher, but you do see people in the profession that you're in who are more advanced than you, and you can learn in observing what they do. And if you're in a position where you're like a doctor who's a young doctor working in the same office with a doctor who's an older doctor and knows more about that profession, but he's not going to compromise his work. He hasn't decided to devote X amount of time to the younger doctor and X amount of time to his practice. He's devoted his time to his practice, and it's up to the younger doctor to stand on his own feet and develop as fast as he can develop.
Right, because if that young doctor kept going to the older doctor and saying, or if he was working with the older doctor on the surgery and he didn't know how to tie a suture, and the older doctor says to him, did you learn how to do this?
Didn't you learn that in school?
Yeah. And, but he said, oh yes, I learned it, but I forgot. I don't know where my mind was, I wasn't thinking. And he'd begin to question, what kind of assistant do I have here? Now, he may tolerate a lot more than in the next level. Now, the next level won't kick you out of the next level, but they will replace you very, very quickly in the task that you've been assigned to.
And put you in circumstances equal to your ability.
Right. And it won't be, and you have to take it in the right way. We're not trying to scare you in any way. We're trying to impress upon you that you have inside of you a drive that keeps you going each day, but it has to be stronger in the direction of perfection. Otherwise, you couldn't be as lax as you are in the other things. And each day that something shows up, you shouldn't forget it. Something that you might have not done as properly as you should, then you ought to really make a note of it and try to correct it. That's our job while we're here, and to help you and to point out the things that you need to work on. You do a lot of things that right. But you also still do some things that are not right. Moses did an awful lot of things that were right. He worked very hard to please the Lord. But that one time that he did not caused him to not be able to go to the land that he had waited for 40 years. So, not that you all are in that position. I mean, it's not going to keep you from going, but it will keep you from task. You will be given task, but if one time you don't follow the procedure, one time is what I think, you will be taken off of the task and place somebody else, and somewhere else, and somebody else will take your task. And remember, the thing that gives you task to do at the next level is experience. The more experience you have, the faster you can be given other tasks. The more you have the more important tasks. You know what I'm saying? In other words, maybe you all would like to have a task like we have. Maybe not the same kind, but one that would send you to a garden and where you would do something for the next level. And if you do, it means that you've got to really follow procedure to the letter. We would not tell you this if we had not had to go through it ourselves. We know how important it is. And we know that you have got to really become determined to do everything according to the way it has been set up in both grades. You cannot drop something unless the older members say it's okay to drop it. And this is just like that old song way back in the campground. That old back mountain had a or you don't run the oink oink or the quack quack or anything. You keep all of it going. Okay? Do you have any questions?
And then when you said you all got other fun things, right away I felt the desire to say no.
Well, we have, but we're getting instructions now not to do it.
Or to do it less.
To do it less. And we know that you all can only take so much.
You may think you can take it all, but we know a lot of times you couldn't.
Right. And I think you know we did end up such. And makes you feel like you may not blame us, but you might feel like are we really coming on strong? Like you could have taken it this morning, like T really got up on both sides of this. But you don't, when a broken procedure occurs in this craft, it is worse than it is back in the main craft. Do you all understand why? Because we have set this up as older members retreat. You all are here as guests, so to speak. And for you to abuse any of the procedures in this craft, it's almost like slapping us in the face. Like some individuals would even come here and respond to sensuality, which is about the worst thing that you could possibly do to a member in your house. And if you are guilty of that, then you ought to really strive to not allow it to happen again. And that's not the only thing. Even from not even this little button right up here is almost like a slap in the face. Any little thing.
Or not showing up to consuming on time, or to fall asleep in meditation. That means that the retreat and the fact that you're in a place where your teachers are trying to work harder and being in contact with the next level means you really don't have any respect for it. That's what it adds up to.
No matter what it is, if it's consuming your salad with your fingers, not that you all do that, but I'm using that as an example. Any little thing, it should not happen because it is a procedure. It's for consuming, like what happened the other night. We had a meeting, and you all consumed peanut butter sandwich. We got a slippage note from Dave's husband. We didn't get one from her. Now, the thing that we brought up about that was I would not consume. I don't care if my
Under those
stomach was eating my
circumstances,
back.
that's right, I wouldn't have either.
And this is how strict that
I'm
you
not
want
that,
to be. Starved for food.
yes,
Live
sir,
your-
dominated by hunger.
You can't allow those little slippages like that to occur. And now that you're becoming aware of all your slippages, then you should, like we said the other day, you should not allow them to happen more than once. And strive to not have them happen at all.
That doesn't mean you allow them to happen once. It means that you don't allow them when you have, out of ignorance or being unaware, slipped once, you don't allow repeat. It doesn't mean you allow them to happen more.
Any other questions? Are you all ready for this? Tough means don't allow your vehicle to get away with anything. That gives you strength. Did you want to say?
I was thinking I had some questions about it, but
Okay, let's bring it up. It might help one to make craft too.
well, I don't know why, in the craft we have a procedure that we monitor inventory every day, and we do inventory every day, we count pain labels every day. For some reason, we don't do it, and it always
You don't do it in this craft?
And it's like, well, we use so little, and there's all kinds of excuses that come in, and we can.
We should do it every day. If
You
the
all got
procedure
your
has not been
license
changed.
back.
If the procedure has not been changed for this craft, you should do it every day.
What else?
There's no tiny thing that they do back there that you shouldn't do here.
Signing out. I know we have books to sign out about craft. Like even on the task we went on last night, it seems like we should have signed out.
Whenever we leave, we have to look.
If that's
That's
your
right.
procedure,
That's right. Well, they have to be. It means that you're lax here. It means that you're treating it more like a human camp than
lack of respect. Lack of respect.
And I guess the biggest thing on my mind, I know in Noah, nobody's lost. Just in the park. And when I was there, it was the same way. And somehow in the process of moving, or maybe organizing all the things we tried to do in the beginning, we slipped into it, put some things on parking, and we never really come out 100%. Took a leap, tried very hard, and I really didn't cooperate, and then like 2 days ago I said, can't do this, but we all have to do it or else it doesn't work. And it's never been a decision that it's okay talking. It always bothered me that you didn't say anything to us because it confused me and that's desire.
Well, we haven't heard you talking.
I mean, in the lab,
it usually stops
primarily.
when we come in.
We don't. We haven't heard you talking. However, we heard voices from in there.
And at
I
times
stick
I
my
said,
head.
see, is this talk time? Is this talk period?
And it's pretty loud. Now, what confuses you is that Jan Doe will come in and start talking to you at any time, which is perfectly okay for your teacher to do that. Because we couldn't take up your talk time with things that we weren't working on for with whatever it is. But anyway, you need that restraint. And there isn't any reason for anybody to break procedures here that have been set up in Leecraft. And if you all came to it, the time may come when we will say, okay, since you have not respected our procedures, then you can no longer be in this craft. We need somebody who desires to respect us and want to do what's good. So far, we haven't had that instruction, but we never know when it might come up. And we don't want to use that against you. That's not what we're trying to say. What we're trying to say is that this is how important it is. And
It's part of getting closer to being prepared for being reunited with the next level. We can't, we still compromise a lot of next level type conduct with each other. And we're going to have to stop, or we're going to have to start compromising less and less. And that's awfully hard to do. It's just like I shouldn't have, a few moments ago, I shouldn't have been aware that in a human way that dishing out might be a very ugly term to you. And in fact, in other words, I compromised because I didn't want your boogers to be able to take that term and turn it around. And yet I shouldn't have compromised. I'm still too much aware of how I can keep you from taking something wrong, which means that I'm still protecting you, and I shouldn't be protecting you. You shouldn't need to be protected in that way. You should be able to get to a point where we don't have to worry about what words we would use and how you, even though we still worry about them. But from your point of view, you shouldn't respond poorly to the words we would use. We still try to be aware of them, just because we don't want to add to difficulty. But I felt like, even when I corrected that I was doing something wrong, even though in the past it might have been more right for me to do that, because I saw a gap there so often between your ability to take us in the right way. It's just like pockets, and you still zero in on technical things, and you still take the word value from a human point of view, the word value of words, and yet we should be past that. We should be past taking things at that value where we have to edit for your sake.
if we did not teach you this, if you went to the next level and you were given a task, and the first time you did something where you were not following procedure and they replaced you, you could say, well, that's not fair. I thought this place was a good place, and here...
I was doing my best.
I was doing the best. Can't they see that I was doing the best I could have done? I thought, they were taught me that. And that doesn't go very good in the next level. In other words, that's human talk. That's human thinking. And that, again, would put you in a spot where you need to be taught better. And that would be a put down to us.
Where you would be taught, where you'd be in a circumstance where you would learn that those responses were totally inappropriate. They didn't apply to that circumstance. That's only humans would apply that kind of reasoning to a circumstance like that.
Now, when you're trying very hard to follow procedure and doing the best that you can, believe it or not, they know it. Now, there is a difference. But you will be in a place where you can't have the plunge. And they won't even put you in that place if they don't think that you can do it. In other words, if you are placed, and see if you can understand that, because the person who placed you in that position, he felt like, or they felt like, because there's never just one person. I didn't say a person. I didn't mean to say a person, but the persons who put you in that position to do that task, their judgment is at stake. Now, then can have a chain reaction because they have the task of putting you in a position. And if you let them down, then they are questioned according to how well they can judge. Now, the persons above them can say, I thought they were capable of judging. You see what I'm saying? And so it can go all the way up to the chief. So you're not letting just one person down. You're letting a whole chain of people down when you do not strive to do the best that you can. Now, if you're placed in a position...
And striving comes too easy in human terms. It comes much too easy. People think they can try a little, and they don't know what trying with all they have amounts to. They think they can try, and then that gives them the right to say, well, I tried. I tried to do my best. I'm sorry if I failed. And that's just absolutely zilch.
That's weak.
It's very, very weak, because it means that you didn't apply all that you had. You didn't apply the full capacity that you had at that time. You were satisfied with applying a percentage of it, which you determined was adequate. And then when you found it was inadequate, then you wanted to get out of it by saying, I'm sorry. You know, and it just, that kind of thinking, there's no place for it. It just doesn't fit. There's no piece in the puzzle for that kind of logic.
It's just like, let's use the vehicle's habits mostly. Sleep and eating are two of the worst habits that the vehicle has. That's the hardest for you all to get under control. And the energy level that you have to be consistently at the right energy level, that all seems to be vehicular things and getting the vehicle under control. And to have any sleep, let's use sleep for instance, because we know that some individuals are still having trouble with when they meditate, they become sleepy, and I don't know if they're still falling off to sleep, but let's say they are, okay? And to do that one time after you became aware that it was not procedure to do it shows weakness. Now, if I had that problem and I knew that I was weak in that area, you could bet that I would work like crazy to gain strength in that direction. Now, if I had to tell myself I am not going to become sleepy when I meditate, I am not going to allow sleepiness to come into my body until I say it can. And if I would say that to myself every moment of the day that I could, and never less than 10,000 times a day, right? That's a slight exaggeration, right? Say 1,000 times a day. Not that you have to count it, but that means what I'm trying to say is I would keep saying it over and over and over again.
When he says work like crazy, a lot of you knew how to work like crazy when you were in the human world for things you wanted. You really knew how to work like crazy for something you really wanted, whether it was the affections of another individual or some possessions or whatever it was. You knew how to. If you didn't get it here, you got it there. If this method didn't work, you tried another, and you tried another, and you tried another until you got what you were after. But you don't know, for the most part, how to apply that same working like crazy to next level effort. It's you work a little bit, and the only reason you don't is because you haven't yet tried all the ways. You haven't yet opened your mind to think about how else can I approach this? How else can I lick this? How else can I do this? How else can I accomplish this? And if you applied as much effort in all the various angles that were available to you as you used to toward things in the world that you really wanted, you would get the same end. You would have what you want. But it takes, like T says, it takes work like crazy, and it takes a determination that is not going to be easily defeated.
We cannot instill that into you. You have to do it yourself. You have to direct the energy in that direction. If you feel sleepy, you have to exert the effort to not allow the body to go to sleep because it is feeling sleepy. And this is what we were trying to impress upon you on your slippages. Now that you're aware of them, don't ever let them happen again. This is what you want to say to yourself. I am tired of writing slippage notes. I am not going to do it again. When we are bombarded, you can't believe the stories that these boogers are playing to us right now. And now we have a choice. We can get into them, we can listen to them, or we can shut our mind off to them. Now, it's not easy to shut your mind off to a booger whenever it is playing attuned. Even especially when it tries every way imaginable, until when they even get to where they say there's a next level talking to you. And the only thing that works for me is to do anything to keep my mind busy. Like continually talk to the next level. Or say, Jesus, love me, this, anything to keep them a thought from coming in. Now, it's determination, our determination not to allow it to come in, that will keep it from getting its number done, doing its little phony dance. But it still can weaken you so that you feel like you can't lift your head above water. And but if you can just survive long enough until they give up, because they will give up eventually, then you can gain a little strength in that direction and really sock them in the nose. But it takes effort. Everything that you do on this path takes effort. And if you all ever want a task like this, why you would, don't know, but if you ever did, you would have to be so strong that in other words, the effort that you exert has to be so strong that you have to follow everything as close to the letter as you possibly can. Otherwise, you can get off the track. And you have to look totally to all the procedures that they have. Have you ever wondered why we wanted to set up a craft like we have set up? If you have, I'll tell you why. Because it's easier to keep procedures that way. It's easier to teach you all procedures in this way. In other words, it's a facsimile of the life that we have, that you live, even though it's a lower interpretation. Cars we would not have. We would have spacecrafts. If we had to go someplace, we would go in a spacecraft. We would not have tables like this, or tape recorders, or things like that. We would have computers and anything else that they have. And even still, computers are human way of labeling. But we just don't have the program in these vehicles, what they're called. But the main thing that you want to do is to exert the effort to have that desire to follow every little teeny-weeny procedure to the letter and not drop anything. Because you are programming your computers. If you don't do a good job of programming your computers, you have to reprogram them, and that takes time. And time is what you don't want to waste reprogramming something when you can be doing it now. Because that means it will take away from something else that you can be doing. Okay, you understand? So anyway, watch the slippages. Try not to let them happen twice. Try not to let them happen once. But if they do, don't ever, this is what you want to say, don't ever let them happen again. Study those procedure books and see if you haven't dropped a lot of things. If you have, that Bible knows it. Your monitors know it. We may not know it, but believe it or not, it'll show up, just like it did this morning with the PPS bus. They'll come show up, and you want them to show up. And take better. Every procedure gets better. Okay?
We wanted to remember to point out that the reference we made to Jesus loves me was purely as an example, not a specific. In other words, when you would, what you should do to fill those spaces that where you had to occupy your brain with something in order to keep negative thoughts out, it would be to use your mantras and the things that we've given you. We just didn't want to have that little example turned around to learning that everybody was using Jesus loves me. Okay? Yeah, Dee was joking and just using it as an example.